LaRue Ford is spending her 9th straight day in jail after uttering curse words in the presence of a Berry County court clerk. She claims she muttered to herself, but that didn't stop a judge from throwing her in jail on a contempt of court charge. 24-hour News 8's Ken Coker talked with Ford exclusively from jail. You'll hear more from her at 6. She says she at first thought someone was just playing a game.
I thought it was a joke. I thought I was on a hidden camera. I really thought it was a joke. Yes, I just didn't believe what was happening to me.
We're joined here now in studio by Curt Benson, a Cooley Law School professor. I know you watch our news. What was your first reaction when you heard this?
Trying to figure out exactly what happened. You know, there are two types of contempt. The contempt most people are familiar with is what we call direct contempt or summary contempt, and that's if you're in a courtroom, the judge is on the judge is on the bench and court's in session. You drop an F-bomb or something, that judge is throwing you in jail. No questions asked, no due process. You just go, and you will go in that case. What happened here, though, is very different. It happened in the clerk's office. In my understanding, and court wasn't even in session. So this is indirect contempt, which means she has the right to a hearing. She has a right to a lawyer. She has a right to cross-examine. The reason she's still in jail is not the contempt per se, but because she was unable to post bond. So she's being held in jail until her hearing, which comes sometime in January.
All right. Now, is it your understanding that a judge normally has jurisdiction outside of a courtroom? You'd think she would have, the clerks would have had to call the police and have her arrested like anywhere else.
Frankly, I think that's probably what should have happened. It is a little unusual because for a judge to hold somebody in contempt, yeah, if you act up in a courtroom, even outside the courtroom, if you act up in the clerk's office, and by acting up, you somehow impede the judicial business, then yes, that's contempt. So, for example, if you grab a file and throw it, that would actually interfere with the judge's ability and the court's ability to function. But if you're just muttering obscenities as you're walking out the door, even to the extent that's even a crime, it strikes me as disturbing the peace. Call the police, give them a ticket, and let the criminal justice system handle it. It seems very strange that the judge would get so personally involved in something, assuming that's really what happened. I mean, we don't really know. Maybe there's a little more to the story than what we've heard.
Right. Yeah. There's always a lot of questions. Of course, the judge not commenting on the situation now. Contempt charge, I know a lot of times it can be a direct conviction when it's in the presence of the judge.
Correct.
But this being outside, does she have the same rights as any other criminal charge then?
She really does. This is actually classified as criminal contempt, which means, again, she'll have the right to a lawyer, she'll have the right to cross-examine witnesses and the like. But she does, in theory, face up to 93 days in jail. But it, again, strikes me as very odd that she would be looking at such a serious penalty considering what she's telling us she did, which strikes me as, you know, again, although offensive, perhaps, again, did not seem to interfere with the business of the court system. So it's 9 days? I don't know. It seems a little excessive.
Right. And what about this bond? You know, a lot of times you hear about a PR bond for a lesser charge, especially someone with no criminal background like Ford as reportedly has. A $5,000 bond, does that seem a little out of the ordinary as well for you?
This is like the perfect storm of problems for this woman. The problem is I understand that she's not from Michigan. She has no ties in Michigan. The only reason why she was in Berrien County is she was trying to straighten up a problem with some earlier tickets. She lives in Indiana, and as I understand it, she was unable to give the judge a permanent address. So, frankly, anytime you're in court facing any kind of criminal case and you literally can't even identify an address, you're going to have serious bond problems. She's a flight risk, quite frankly, and I think the judge wanted to make sure that she appeared in court when she was supposed to sometime in January.
All right. I know we're tight on time. I do want to touch on the race issue a little bit. The NAACP getting involved, she's put out there that she thinks this was because of her race. How would she ever prove that? Do you think that's even possible?
I think it's going to be very difficult for a real simple reason. If you can show a disparity of treatment, in other words, if there was a whole bunch of people of majority, people who were treated very differently than this woman, the problem is these types of contempt, I gotta believe it's so rare, you're not going to be able to see a pattern. Okay, so we can all surmise and we can say, well, she's being treated this way because of her color. The reality is I doubt there's any kind of a pattern anyone's going to be able to look at to say, look, she's being treated, you know, disparate treatment. So I don't think, unless somebody said something or there's some direct evidence of racism, it's going to be very difficult just based on the facts alone.
All right. Curt Benson, we always appreciate your insight.
My pleasure.
Let's make it so clear for us. Of course, we'll probably be talking a lot more about this case in the coming days.